Welcome to Targeted Massachusetts Northeast Conference. My name is Lily, and I'll be your host for the evening. The views and opinions that are expressed by our listeners are not necessarily the views of Targeted Massachusetts or myself. It is the goal of the phone conference to be a place where targeted individuals can be free to openly and safely discuss any fears, concerns, hopes for themselves, and to offer advice, support, and encouragement for one another. It is understood that some people may not always agree with one another, so let's start the call with the willingness to agree to disagree, keeping in mind it is more important to support one another than for us to always be right. With that being said, hello everybody, and Kevin was just telling me about his day. He was working out at the gym, and they really hit him hard as he was trying to work out. So, that just really sucks. So, well, I'm sorry to hear it, Kevin. Just keep up the good work by doing that kind of a positive thing for yourself. It's critical that we continue to try to do our best to care for ourselves during all this.
Thank you.
Yeah. Welcome, Setsa, and there's Bev. Hi, Scylla. Looking at the list now. Oh, Reno. Hi, Dana. And got a few anonymouses. Southeast Texas is in the house. And Deb. Hi, Setsa. I hope you're doing well, Mr. Canadian. Oh,
sorry, I had you muted. This is Dana. Hi.
Hi, Dana. How's your day, Dana?
Oh, it's been hard. I just got over a head cold. I wasn't going to go to the doctor because I don't want any doctors checking me for anything right now. I don't trust anybody.
Yeah.
So I got over it. It's not. I don't have COVID. I don't feel sick right now, but it took me about 3 days to get over it. So I feel weak still, but I'm just getting over it. And I've been getting attacked on and off for the past few days pretty heavily, but just keep praying, and the more I pray, the better it gets, and then they come back. So,
yeah,
to battle, I feel like I'm just battling every day.
It is. Yep. It's a struggle. Every day is a struggle, and it's something new all the time. Something different. Although their motive, I don't know. It just changes a lot, But I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I've been weathering this. This has been going on for so long that it's like I've learned to live with it,
Yeah.
So.
I know, me too. Yeah. Anybody else like to say hi? How's your day? Hi.
Hi. My day is awful as usual.
Who's
will
this?
never say I got used to it. I will never say that's consent as far as I'm concerned.
Hi, Ann.
Hi, Lily. Oh, you recognize my voice.
Oh,
They
of course.
have hung up the phone like 5 times. It didn't even ring. They just keep hanging it up. It's just these baby games are so damn ridiculous. I wrote this long letter. I was very inspired yesterday, and the words were flowing out of me. I was actually very impressed. It was a long letter, and it's gone. It's absolutely gone. Oh, God. It was my best explanation. I was looking at it. I said, I could even use this in court. But it's gone. It was.
What do you mean it's gone?
I wrote it on my e-pad. On my e-pad, yeah. It's gone. Gone.
Oh.
Yeah. Mhm.
Next time, put it on a flash drive. That's what I do. I save everything on a flash drive.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I can't on the iPad. How do I do it on the iPad on the flash
Or you
drive?
can email it to yourself.
Well, I wasn't finished. I was going to email it out. I wasn't finished. I went back to it tonight just to finish it up, and it's gone. Gone.
Well, maybe you can just try it again. Just start. Just keep going, and then I think that's a great idea to save it to a thumbnail, drive, or even emailing it to yourself. But it's really good. And you can also approach it like from, maybe just almost biographical, in that you could just tell your story,
sometimes when you tell your story, you jump around a little. You jump around, and the ideas aren't in order. Well, yesterday I was actually having a quiet day, and after I cried for a few hours, I decided to start writing, and I was just, like I said, it was flowing, and it was great. I mean, this doesn't happen often. This doesn't happen because of this freaking noise. One of the sentences that I wrote was, I don't know if this is an accumulative effect or if it's just, it has, see, I can't even repeat the sentence. I can't even repeat it. Or it has intensified, something like that. And when I said intensified, they gave me the affirmative. It has intensified. My targeting has intensified. So, and to think, 5 years ago, I didn't think it could get any worse. I didn't think I could live through another day of it. And it has intensified.
Have you found any ways that you have to, do you walk? Do you power walk? Is there anything you can do to refocus?
Oh yeah, I'm moving. I can't stay still. Yeah. I'm in every room. I'm walking. I'm always moving.
That's good. Yeah.
It wasn't, I have to say, last weekend, not this weekend, the past weekend before that, I was paralyzed to my bed for 2 days. I was paralyzed to my bed. They had a certain frequency that I couldn't move. Okay. Just now it started again. I was on my bed, it started again.
Do you have somebody there with you?
Body.
Do you have someone there with you that you live with, that you can help support you through those moments?
No.
No.
Who does?
No, I didn't. I know. I didn't know.
No.
I didn't know.
The people that support me are dead. I mean, pretty much over the years, any ally I have died. Really dead. No kidding. I don't know if I told you, because right now I'm so mad. Right now I am so targeted. When I was one of the fortunate ones that I suffered through it for a number of years before I spoke out. I don't know if you remember me telling you this. And the first person that I told, my phone just rang, and it was a friend from church. And he's a military guy. I mean, he is a seasoned veteran, okay? He's an older man, but I guess he went into the service to the Vietnam War. So how old was he? 19 years old, And he's never detached from. He's always doing something for the veterans. He has this club for the kids, like a camp, a military camp. He does. He's always doing something. So I don't know. He knows a lot, I guess. I didn't know at the time. And I blurted it out. I was in my car screaming, crying, wondering how I was going to work that day. And my phone rang. I answered it. It was him. And I blurted it out. And he said, I said, they're communicating with me, Bob. They communicate with me, but not talking to me. And he says, you mean, you mean telepathically? And I said, yeah, that's it. That's the word. It's telepathically. And he said, oh, my God. And after I told him who the people that I was with, he said, why? Why did you get involved with those people? Why? I was like, I didn't know. So he said to me, then I asked him, I said, listen, I know you're friends with, he had a lot of friends in the FBI. Because he used to tell me, I'm going to my friend's house, the FBI, this one, FBI, that one. So I said, can you please talk to your friends for me? Can you please take me there and maybe they can do something? He said, Ann, they can't help you. He says, you need friends in very high places. Lily, at the time, I didn't realize I had two friends in very high places. They're both dead.
Oh.
Okay, one you would probably know his name. I didn't even know, 5 degrees of separation?
Yeah.
I didn't even know. I saved his wife's life. I literally saved her life. But she was young at the time, and I never made the connection. I didn't know who she was married to.
I see. Well, I think we all have our own beginnings and what we think, how and who and what we did that triggered whatever, or, we all have our own experiences, and none of it's pleasant. And, I don't know. All I know is we all have to just put one foot in front of the other and find ways to shift our energy to ways that encourage us, to remind us that we've done nothing wrong, and that we are basically being used not as punishment, but as more of experimentation, because they disrespect us and our fabric of who we are. It's more of a disrespectful, obviously it's
I know I've done nothing wrong. There's nothing they could shame me.
You said those getting involved with those people, and you didn't really, who knew, right? If for whatever reasons. So it's not necessarily
they befriended me.
Well,
okay?
Yeah. You didn't do anything wrong.
It was DICORP. Do you know the history of DICORP?
Yeah.
That was that movie Taken, okay, with the child, with human slavery and them selling children in Bosnia. And they are the ones that are involved with organ harvesting. And they are the ones involved with the NSA, with biotechnology. I mean, I could go on and on. Everything bad, okay? That's who I knew was there, but they had somebody to keep me company, and that person said to me, I guess you're wondering why the CIA is here. And I was like, huh? What do I know? This is before targeting. I couldn't tell you who. I said, why, are they wearing name tags? I mean, I wouldn't know who the CIA, but they were very, very, very big, high freaking brass over there. And I hung out. I was on vacation. What could have I done wrong? I was on vacation. That's where I met them. I was on vacation.
I understand. I know.
Oh, you understand, I probably have stuff that could get everybody out of this, because nobody knows where it's coming from. I was in the mouth of the beast. I know.
Well, then maybe what you could do, Anne, is I think you're on the right track with writing it down. Write down everything you do know and get it in safe places, like on drives and disks and multiple places. I think that would be really helpful. It would be a really good testimony. We just don't know what information you have. Think of it like a puzzle. So you have your piece, Kevin has his piece, I have my piece. We all have our pieces of the puzzle. And
I was on an Air Force base.
But your experience, listen, your experience in all its many ways, okay, many different experiences, has value. So it's really important that you think about writing it all down. I really would encourage you to do that. Anybody else for that matter, and I considered doing it for a long time. I just didn't understand. I thought my experience was so weird, but now it all makes sense, understanding somewhat what's been happening. So, you probably have a lot of really good information that would be valuable to people,
The information that I have is there's no way out. They have control of everything. I've written this down before. I put it down on the surveys. I've written to Congress. There is no guarantee that anybody receives it, even if you do, okay, even if you do registered mail. There is no guarantee. I know how deep these roots go. They showed me, and even though I fight it, all right, because I fight, and it's like, I don't care. It's learned helplessness, okay? They have showed me, look at how powerful we are. Look at what we can do. We can override anything. They show me every day, okay? So I went, okay, sometimes I do that. Oh, learned helplessness. There's no way out, blah, blah, blah. And then other days I try. And only to be thwarted every time, every single time.
I know.
And they are
do.
in everybody's head. They are. I can't stress this enough. I just had a memory today. Okay, I had a memory of something that happened in 2013. Oh my God, that's how long they were able to penetrate the psyche of the population. Probably longer than that. When we shrug our shoulders and go, but that doesn't make sense. Why? It just doesn't, things just don't make sense. Why doesn't your family listen to you? Why? It's because they've already taken care of that problem. I was, not to go into a whole thing, I had to find an apartment. And it was the end of May, so it was Labor Day. I live in a beach town. You cannot find an apartment all year long, let alone it wasn't Labor Day, it was Memorial Day. Memorial Day, everything opens up. The beach opens up, rentals, everything opens up. And I went in the rain. I went door to door, knocking on doors. I found something that was once a month. It was like temporary, maybe a weekend, maybe. I don't think so. I have somebody coming in from Hawaii. They're professional surfers, blah, blah, blah. Nice to make your acquaintance. So won't see you around. Okay. I find another person. It was a sublease in a building right down from my house. Mind you, I couldn't live in my house. Right down the block from my house. I go there. I meet the manager. We get along great. She sends me upstairs to the tenant, who is like the spiritual, unbelievable, incredible Japanese woman. We hit it off right away. She wanted to give me free rent. I mean, this woman was incredible. The first month, she says, I wouldn't even charge you the first month, right? I was so happy, but the rental would have only been for 3 months. And I had to sign a year's lease, so I was kind of on the fence with management, I had to sign a year's lease. She had 3 months left to her sublease, something like that. Not to make it a long story, but I'm calling my mother. I'm in the car, and I pull up to the side, and I call my mother to give her the great news. I was just so happy. But there was that thing hanging over me about that 3-month thing, you know. I didn't need a year, and I would have had to sign that year lease after the 3 months. So anyway, I call my mother, and I'm telling her, and I'm getting another call at the same time. And who is it? The first guy, okay, had a complete change of heart, completely turned around. He wants me to take it. He wants me to take that rental, and he wants me to take it right away. I mean, I think they did not want me taking the building. They did not want me there. For whatever reason, maybe the signals would have gotten crossed with the other tenants. I don't know. They did not want me in that building. They influenced him. Nobody gave him a gift card. Nobody talked to him, okay? It was all mental.
Right.
He probably took a nap and someone whispered in his ear, take Ann as your tenant. Forget the famous surfer that's coming in from Hawaii.
I see.
This is how it worked. I know. It's like, I know. I can differentiate between something that I have an idea about or something that's speculation and something that is real. Plus, I've been in it long enough.
What apartment
Way
did you end up
too long.
taking?
I took his.
Yeah.
I took his. It was a total mistake. It was a total disaster. But I took his because it was. I didn't have to sign a lease. It was like a month-to-month thing. You know, I took the house instead of the apartment. It just seemed to work out, you know, time-wise. But and that was like 4 apartments ago.
Wow.
They keep me moving. That's all I do is move.
Well, I'm sorry. Yeah. A lot of us have that kind of story. I see Tracy came in. Hi, Tracy. Is there anybody? Well, thank you for your testimony tonight, Ann. And I just would really encourage you to keep writing, even though they did what they did. You know, that's for sure. I think you have a lot of good information.
The point that I'm trying to make is this is bigger than anybody realizes. You only know what you know. You have to think outside the box.
I don't disagree with you.
It's like telling a blind person that the sky is blue. You only know what you know. This is way big. This is huge.
Yes, it is. I would absolutely agree with that.
This is cloaked the planet, okay? This is cloaked the planet, like the insanity with COVID and all this crap that we can't wrap. It's like, why? And the elections and everything that's going on. And the sky, the geoengineering, that no one can just look up and say, hey, we're being sprayed like bugs. What the hell's going on here? It's really easy to look up and question it. I've never had a problem telling people about it. People are very interested. But the question I always have is, why didn't you ever look up before? You're on a golf course. Don't you see what's going on above you? Anyway, I'm done. I'm sorry. I've taken enough time, but I'm so tortured. I can't. I don't know if I'm going to make it. I'm telling you, I don't know if I'm going to make it. physically, what this
I'm
has
glad
done
you're
to me
here.
physically.
I know. It's stolen from all of us, Anne. No, and but yeah, I know. I understand your situation too. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry for me. I'm sorry for all of us.
Yeah.
The stuff what they have stolen. And it is. It's an atrocity. But we have to keep going because we do have value. And they're wrong. So they're wrong to use us like this. And on that note, would anybody else like to join in? Would anybody like to tell me about your day or share anything? Anything anyone wants to share and say or... Even if you were able to get out and go to the grocery store on a Monday.
This is Kevin again.
Yeah.
So I was listening to a podcast tonight, and it's called the X-22 Report. And basically it's about the deep state and, the current election and the central bank. And he actually mentioned digital soldier. So I spent a lot of this evening just pulling up articles on digital soldiers. And yeah, everything really points back to research and development and basically like a new kind of warfare. So yeah, I believe we're a bunch of guinea pigs. It keeps pointing back to the guinea pig, part of things. So
right, sadly,
so you
yeah.
You can just Google digital soldiers. And if there's something else you want to dig into, that's something. Just wanted to throw that out there. That's all.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it is. It's I think it has many things to it, and many different uses. I think that they are developing. If they can keep your mind in a virtual reality with synthetic telepathy and training their weapon systems to think, and our goal is to function during all of this. Right? We have to figure out a way to be proactive, to understand it's nothing that we've done wrong, that they're using us not for specific reasons, but just for information that they can get from our lives and the way we think. The psychology, the deep psychology behind what makes humans do what they do, the emotions and training their computer systems so that they can, follow their philosophical world power, power grab. So it's all part of that. And when Anne says it's much bigger than what we know, it's true. I believe that. I believe that from my experience of 26 years. That this is what they can accomplish with this is so sophisticated. And that it's so hard to believe that they can use our minds and our bodies like this, that they would be willing to do such a thing. But remember, these are people who consider national security and nationalism bigger than human rights. And they have an agenda, and they're going to develop their weapon systems the way they're going to develop them. And that's why it's so deeply embedded into, the military-industrial complex and the people in power, and why so many people don't know about it, because it is extremely sophisticated, and everybody has, their hand in it, if you will. That's why it's global now. So the fact that it's global, and the fact that it can happen no matter where you're at, what country you're at, no matter where you come from or where you're headed to, traveling, or, it's, for whatever reason, we were tapped as individuals, for whatever program. And it's really hard to remember, for me, that when I encounter a situation that's really uncomfortable, like with a neighbor, or I can tell that they're manipulating that person, it's hard for me to remember that this is much larger, because in the immediate, I'm looking at this person going, okay, this is small, it feels like it's just about me or my life, or, they're just after me for some reason, and it's not. It has to do with the way I handle my interaction, so it's complicated. I think it's all the deep psychological reasons that make humans tick. They want all our human information from us, our encounters with people. And then I think when they jack up our adrenaline like that, it creates a fight or flight, and situation, and our adrenaline is pumping, and or you feel exhausted. That's the side effect of what they're doing to us, and it creates whatever physical response they're looking for, to either calm us down or tap our emotions, or so they can do it to everybody else someday. Who knows? So what we have to do is we have to figure out how to keep living by being able to enjoy some parts of our lives, through all of this, until they are ended for it, however that's going to be. And just keep in mind that they're doing what they're doing. It's so annoying, and it's so outrageously invasive and outrageously against our civil and human rights, and they absolutely have no right to do this. Not for spiritual reasons, physical reasons, psychological reasons. They do not have our permission to do this at all. And so I wish we could had the answer,
Right, so that basically brings up the Nuremberg Code.
Yes.
Does everybody know what that is?
Yeah. All the treaties, all the agreements, all the codes, all all the laws. Yes, all of those things, and this group breaks all the rules, and they know they're breaking the rules. They do it covertly for their nationalistic fervor, to further their cause of being a superpower status. It's like an arms race. It's this AI system, and it's weapons. This is it's worse than nuclear weapons. It's more covert than nuclear weapons. So you have to remember that. That's why they keep everybody confused and guessing and small. They keep you small, thinking it's just about you and your neighbor, or you and your job, or your boss, or your whatever, and they use the people around you, when really they're using their weapon systems. or various kinds of weapon systems, various kinds of modalities that they're, some people probably have implants, some people don't, some people, get tinnitus, some people get V2K, some, all of those things. Embedded in it is very much a spiritual programming too, where there are some politicians that are high up in government institutions that have it out for religion. And I think that one of the goals of these programs is to steer societies out of organized religions because they feel that the organized religions cause a lot of the social problems. Now, I believe I'm a Christian, I have my faith, so it's not like I agree or disagree. You know what I mean? I just know what they're doing. And obviously I disagree with them. They're using neuroweapons to do anything with. But I guess I shouldn't have said it like that, but I totally disagree with what they're doing, obviously. But I think one of the things the United Nations groups with the science groups, now remember, this program is run by the military, but it's controlled and operated by science, physicists, and philosophically, charged, if you will, for the good of the human race kind of stuff, and I believe that. This isn't operated strictly by military because it takes too much science behind the weapon systems, developing it all, and I'm sure there's a lot of quantum physicist type assistance in building these neuroweapon systems, and a lot of questions as to the why. It's unimaginable power to be able to read a mind, take information in and out of it, and to map the brain so that it programs the computer, your file, if you will, being stored on the computer system, everything about you and how you think and how you emotionally cope with problems or, victories or whatever in your life, everything from good to bad. So it's storing it, and then I think it utilizes that information to understand other people. And I think that that's what these weapon systems ultimately are going to be designed to do, so they can control mass populations and whatever other nefarious purpose. So,
Hey, can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
So just like while you were talking, like for the last 20 minutes, I don't know if anybody experiences this, but it feels like my whole house is like rocking back and forth. And I don't know if that's because it's affecting my balance or what. And then I'm feeling vibrations of some weapon, I don't know, and almost like a back and forth, like there's battling going on or something, because that's what it feels like. But I just wondered if anybody else feels those same sensations.
I do. Mine are different though. I get burning a lot. I get like this chemical. I get my eyes burn. My breathing changes. I get slow in my brain, and then, but I get physically, my body gets weak. So it's weird. It's like it takes away my energy. I have different, and if I get anything, I get the entrainment beeping in my ears. Still, obviously, I get V2K all day. With a running scenario, there's a running storyline, if you will, in the background, of offensive game theory that's called, technically, when really it's opposition. It's the opposite argument. They argue the opposite of my reality, So I have a reality and they try to counter it to break your brain, the good versus the bad, that kind of thing. Do you get burning, Dana?
I do. I started putting tape on my feet today because they always burn my left foot. And I don't know what that's supposed to do to me because there's no hole in my foot. I don't know if that's just a weapon that they do to torture you, or is the goal to actually burn a hole in your foot?
No, you know what I heard? I heard a really interesting perspective on why we get some limbs that burn like that. And it's due to, it's like a side effect to what they're doing to your brain. Because that's where the energy kind of ends, is your feet, you know what I mean? So,
yeah, but they do it to my head too, and they do it to my feet. So a lot of times they hit me in the head, and my prayers are like, okay, Lord, am I going to go brain dead? Am I going to all of a sudden wake up and be having Alzheimer's, and I'm not going to know who I am from all this stuff? You know,
I know. Yep.
Like, I'm not going to know who I am, where I am, because they hit me in the head with this stuff. And I'm not getting anything like supernatural, God's telling me no, or anything. I just keep praying in faith that nothing happens. I don't have brain damage.
Yeah, it's, well, what they do, I think part of it too, and my running memory always seems to suffer. Okay, so it's like, it's called menticide. So it basically, it erases your beliefs, and they try to reprogram them, you know. But
they can't reprogram us. The only reason is because, and I'll tell you, this is the truth. The only reason they can't reprogram us is because we know the truth. We already grasped the truth, and the truth is stronger than their black magic and their lies and their manipulation, you know, their weaponry. Our reality, you know, of what's being done to us to torture us is already understood. And I don't have one memory of forgetting that this is happening to me. I am going to completely stay aware that this is happening to me, you know, and I've written things down, and it's never going to leave me, and they cannot take that away from us.
Wolf Rocka promotes Zinn's idea that the United States is systemically racist. Zinn's storyline in
that was interesting. I don't think they meant to do that.
I think there is a lot of racism in this country. I think the racism never fully went away after after 13, you know.
Well, it's culture. It's embedded. That what it is too is it's historical racism in that it's deeply embedded in the way that I studied it, and so I apologize if I'm a little spacey tonight. I'm having a hard time remembering. But I remember writing papers. You know, when racism that has occurred, what happened is that the survivors of, for example, the slave system, you know, all of those things left a legacy, if you will. So the legacy has people trying to dig out from it. And what we're seeing is all these people trying to dig out from having this horrid historical legacy, and other people who either don't care or make it worse, you know.
Well,
so, and that's a real mild, you know, version of what's happening.
I blame the wealthy white man for racism in America, and that is the truth. The wealthy white man has created so much opposition to other races in this country, and just remember that the banking system has always been the synagogue of Satan, and white, wealthy, rich people run our banking systems. And there are, you know, different other types of people as well mingled in, but it's the white supremacist, wealthy white man that has hated the black man, and this is why we have racism. That's my opinion.
Well, I think it's multifaceted, and I think that, you know, there's obviously, you know, racism can very much be so deeply embedded in systemically that people who don't even realize they're a part of the movement, you know, which is the good old boy club. So, you know, you have white corporate America who, you know, has token behavior, if you will. And, you know, you know what makes me so sad or sick is that, can you imagine living your life just for simple reasons? Like, you know, you have gorgeous brown skin, so you have to try to prove yourself your whole life just to get over the hurdle of being able to buy a house, or, you know, which is hard enough to do just as a goal, let alone because, you know, you can't get an apartment, or you can't get into a school because you have a certain color skin. I mean, just, it is so discouraging. Or you can't get a job that you really wanted, you know. I mean, life is hard enough, you know, and then you have to add on top of it all those types of prejudices. And it happens for a lot of reasons. You know, it happens, there's a lot of different kinds of prejudices and that still exist. So, you know, my biggest curiosity is always been, you know, how do you solve problems that really stem from a heart condition? You know, the heart condition, you can't regulate a heart with laws. You can't make people behave with laws. And we don't have the power as humans to regulate our neighbor's heart condition, meaning anybody, our neighbor meaning, you know, the general fellow population. So who can regulate a heart? Who can tell a human the way they're supposed to behave, you know? And I was always looking for a way to prove the racists wrong. I mean, I remember I was in college. I went to college real young, and I went to a private, very progressive college in the state of Vermont years ago. I was 17, and I went to my first anti-KKK rally. I laughed because it was intimidating. Let me tell you what. And I guess the Klan had tried to infiltrate a small town up in Maine and blame that, you know, the politics behind it were they were losing their mills and stuff to just general economic problems. And the Klan was trying to infiltrate and was blaming, you know, it was racially charged, blame game kind of thing. And so we assisted the community members put a call out for local colleges and everybody else to get up there and protest because the Klan actually was making an appearance at their town. Excuse me. So I went up with this group of people of the college, and we, you know, rode up in a van up to Maine, and it was something to behold. I'll tell you, it was scary. It was really intimidating. Klansmen are very scary people, and so in situations like that, you know, you wonder how people get to that point where they're willing to have a cause that actually hurts their fellow human, you know. And it was a lesson for me young. It was a young lesson that I experienced, you know. And I did a lot of searching after that and really reflected on, you know, what compels people, what motivates people to feel that they can bully, if you will, for lack of a better word, their position over other people who live and breathe. You know, and why is that person's position so important that they feel like they can even have that kind of a right, if you will, to treat others like that, you know? So it's just so brazen to me. So yes, you know, the systemic racism, the systemic and nationalism and nationalistic fervor causes those problems too. It causes the same mentality if you will. And, if people aren't feeling so well about themselves or their positions or their situations, and they're looking for somebody to blame, to make themselves feel better, they'll go after people who are somehow demographically less than. It's like a bully system, and it's horrible. And so I'm constantly looking for ways to make sure I don't behave that way. And I had another point, but I lost it. So I apologize. I'm really spacey tonight, guys. so I apologize.
I think everybody should share any kind of stories they have about their experiences where they have triumphed in some way with all this, because I think we need to hear the encouraging parts to our torture anyway. We call it torture, but, don't you think we should talk about anything positive that happened with us?
Absolutely. Anything positive. Yeah. Have you ever, what I'm waiting for is for the miracle of telling the story to somebody that would actually sit down at your table and say, tell me, what is going on? I want to hear all about it. And they kind of hold your hand, like your mom used to do when you were sick or something. That has yet to happen. Other than you guys, I would love somebody who's not a target to care and not have it feel like a burden for me to have to tell them. That would be lovely, right?
Yeah, so I want to hear everybody's story about something positive that they triumphed over their perps, or something went against them, or I want to hear those stories.
Me too. I agree. Anybody has any information, that'd be more than welcome. Remember to star 6 if you're not speaking.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that last question?
To star 6 if you're not speaking.
No, I'm sorry.
Push star 6.
Huh? The question before that, I'm sorry.
Oh, to tell your story of any successes over any kind of program-related occurrences. So any kind of, if you had any victory over any perpetrator, or any, like, woohoo, I did this and it worked, or,
So the whole, this is Kevin, I'm sorry. The whole gang stalking thing, it gets worse and worse for me every single day. Like today, I think I already mentioned that I went to the gym, and I was like, I knew it was going to happen as soon as I got there. I went to the cardio area of the gym, and there's only like 2 people up there, and I started doing like a really light cardio workout, and then next thing you know, 1 person comes up, 2 people come up, 3 people come up, and then the whole entire area is packed. It's like wherever I go, I'm being followed. But I kind of broke down the gang stalking into certain kinds of categories. And I read a lot of this online, but then I also kind of came up with like other little things. So I'm not, when I'm seeing these gang stalkers, I'm not just, in my head, I'm saying, hey, this person is doing this. I kind of broke it down into like a kind of a hierarchy of like stuff that they actually do to you. And if you can understand the psychology, you're not pointing out that this person is actually doing this because this might be who they are and this is how they're acting. But I kind of broke it down into, what kind of a category these gang stalkers actually fall into. So You'll have your, I don't know if you ever heard of street theater type stuff. These are the people that are, they have their trunks open, or they act like they're, looking at their engine. They're seeing what you'll do. We pull over and try to help them out. So, there's several times where I've, I know that they're doing street theater, but I'll pull over and I'll actually help them out. And I look at their behavior and how they're acting, and they kind of know that they're doing something wrong. But if you're, your success is going to be where, you know what they're doing is wrong, but, they're stooping so low just to be, part of this gang stalking type of activity. Just help them out.
So at the gym, so what did they do when you were at the gym? Did they talk to you, or what?
Nobody talked to me at all.
What did they do? Stare at you?
At the gym, no. They just basically surrounded me. I kind of picked a machine that was kind of in the corner, and I just kind of waited for the whole entire area of the gym that I was in to, get swarmed by it. And I said, I'm going to spend 10 minutes on this machine and basically see how, this gang stalking works today. And in a matter of minutes, there were people just walking up, jumping on all the machines around me, and I'm like, oh, this is exactly what I kind of expected. But more of my success was actually helping people. The whole street theater thing. So if I drive around, I'll find they seem like these helpless victims, on the side of the road, and I just pull over and I just walk right up to them, and I kind of I observe their behavior. So there's a lot of psychology around this whole entire thing. They know that they're doing something wrong, and when somebody's in, this kind of a distressed mood, and you walk up to them, and you can just basically analyze, how are they talking? Are they shaking? They don't know what to do when you're there to help them, and they're just not acting themselves. They know that they're doing something wrong, but you just help them out anyway, because you don't want to stoop. We already know what they're doing, so you don't want to stoop to their level. Be the better person and help them out.
Yeah, and always pray. Always pray that, you always pray and ask God to get you out of anything where they can trap you. I've almost been put in jail more than once, almost falsely accused of something I didn't do, and God, has helped me with it, and I've escaped all those dangers. So you have to be strong and mentally cognizant of the fact that they just want to put you in jail or kill you, torture you, and they don't have anything else to do. Nothing. Their life is nothing. They're zeros. And so be in prayer,
And like I said, if you're ever in a situation to, help these people out, just help them out. God's on your side.
Yeah, be nice, be kind, but, you at some point you have to ignore them. You can't give them eye contact, and there's certain times you don't give them eye contact. You act like your mind is somewhere else. You ignore them, because I've had to do that. Or I just ignore.
I give them, I do the total opposite. I give them 100% eye contact. And, basically, they know they're doing something wrong. Again, I will, make sure it's known that I know what they're doing. And basically, when you do that, it's a
How do you do that? Well, how do you do that?
Just look them right in the eyes. I mean, even when you're driving, all you have to do is just stare them right down, because you know what they're doing to you. Just stare them down, and what they do is it actually becomes like a different kind of psychological thing on them, because, like I said, they know that they're doing something wrong, and if you let them know that, when they're staring at you and you're staring back, and you don't like give up, and you just look them right in, like, hey man, you're doing this to me.
Yeah, I've had people be physical with me, and when they got physical with me, I had to fight physically without getting myself put in jail,
Right,
but I've had physical attacks,
I think that is probably because
I'm a woman. Yeah,
Exactly.
They think I'm stupid. We're stupid. We're imbeciles to them.
You can still just stare them right in the eyes and just don't say anything. And if you have to say something, it is you just be nice. Ask them a question like, hey, is there something I can help you with? Or just nod your head at them. They know what they're doing is wrong, and it's.
Well, I had one victory. I had one victory where a guy, he had a syringe in his hand. This was a long time ago. This was like 15 years ago. But he was going to poke me with a syringe. He walked right up to me, and I kicked it. I kicked his hand really hard, and I hurt his hand, and then I kicked him right in the stomach, and he fell backwards. And then he tried to come back around, and I don't know what happened. I can't really remember. It's really weird. I don't have any memory other than the fact that I kicked his hand really hard. And then I got out of him attacking me a second time. I think I walked around a different way. But he never got any needle inside my skin or nothing. And
well,
that's my victory story I wanted to share.
Huh, that's brave.
So I had a situation where somebody was blocking traffic, and I just kind of pulled up. Their car was, and this is a street gear thing. Their car was broken down, and it was actually a woman that was doing the street theater, and I just walked up to her. I said, hey, I was like, can I help you? And as soon as I walked up to her, she couldn't look me in my face, and she just started shaking. I said, hey, I really want to help you out. We really need to, get your car off the road here. It's blocking traffic. And it felt like when I was talking to her, she was being like 100% totally incoherent, and she was just shaking like so bad, and I was just I like my heart actually kind of went out to her, and I'm like, I know you're doing the street theater, yada yada yada. I'm here to help you out. And she could barely even answer me. Like she didn't even know what to say. That I would actually pull over and try to help an individual out, because we don't know what these people are being told that they're actually gang stalking us, and we don't know how they're getting paid for it, and we really don't know how all of that works out. But me just pulling over and being nice to her, and I was wearing my flip-flops, and in my flip-flops I pushed her car off the side of the road just to help her out, and I told her exactly what she needed to do. I said, call 911 and tell them that your vehicle's broken down, and somebody will come out and help you out. And then, there's so many other things that I kind of get sucked into, but since I'm a really good person, and I like to help people out. those are just opportunities that they kind of throw out there. And every time, that kind of situation arises, I'll spot it out because I'm really good at the whole identifying the whole gang stalking. I mean, I've kind of broken it down from, I see a lot of people holding bags in their hand. I call them bag ladies. So they'll have bags in their hand or they'll be wearing a backpack. You don't know what's inside the backpack. It could be like a directed energy weapon or whatever. But I'm seeing a lot of bag ladies. Bag ladies could be men or women or kids. I mean, it goes for any gender, any age, but they just walk around with bags all day. So then you have your zombie walkers, and they're the ones that are they look like they're like normal people, but they just act funny and they walk funny and they're all over the place. And they try to like block you as you're driving down the road. They'll just randomly walk out right in front of your vehicle. So I call them the zombie walkers. They're not holding anything in their hands. And then you got your creepers. Your creepers, they basically pull out. They try to like pull out in front of you. They could be in a vehicle, or your creepers could be in a grocery store or any other store, and they'll just come up like really close to you and like reach right over your head for something off the shelf, or and they don't even say anything, or they'll just walk really close to you. Like how you have your kind of your little zone that you feel secure in, maybe like 2 or 3 feet, you can walk by somebody and you're okay, but they get in that 1 foot to like 6 inches range, or you're going to the store and you're thinking in your head, hey man, I need to go get something from the grocery store, and you're thinking it, and as soon as you get to the grocery store, there's like all these people getting the same product that you're actually buying. So I call them creepers as well. So, and they kind of just like creep up on you, like, and they pop out right in front of you, and they're kind of like I just let it go. I don't say anything to the creepers. I just kind of just let it slide. And for women, I have to say that's probably pretty scary. Because you might have like a man just reaching right over you when you go out to the grocery store, or then you get your people that for some unknown reason you could be driving around and you have people that pull up right next to you and they just start screaming at you, and you're just like kind of have to laugh that one off because they were basically put out there to try to just yell at you. So I laugh at that one. Then you also have your zombie. You see people walking their dogs all over the place. Like everywhere you go, they're walking a dog, and everywhere you look, you can look up and boom, there's like a zombie puppy doggy walker. And then you got your runners, and there's people that are running. I know people run a lot, but it's just going to be random, like in the middle of nowhere. You see somebody running, and like I live out like in the suburbs, kind of like around a lot of farms, like a little bit further out of the suburbs. So you have the city, then you have the suburbs, and then I'm a little bit further out. And then there's just like people all over. Like I'm from like a small little town, and like there's traffic. Okay, so we have COVID-19. Everybody's supposed to be staying in, and everybody's working from home or they're going into work. If they're an essential worker, but it's like the whole entire day, it's rush hour, back in a little farm town of, you know, my county, like, and it's all day long. It's not just rush hour, like, you know, between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. in the morning, or say 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock, you know, in the afternoon, early evening. It's all day long. There's constant traffic. And you know, I went online and I went back a couple years, and I actually researched the population in my county when there was, like, basically no traffic during these hours. And I went back in maybe about a year ago, and the population has basically stayed the same. I don't know if that's electronic harassment giving me false numbers, but the roads are packed 24/7, and, you know, you'll have your light campaigns where they actually, like, all day long, and it'll be bright outside, a nice sunny day, but everybody is driving around with their headlights on, and they're trying to give you that whole entire light campaign. And then you get your noise campaign. So then you also get your, I don't know, I call them Cabbage Patch Kid, I swear. Some guy was walking down the road with a doll in a stroller, and so I just call them Cabbage Patch Kid. They just pop up everywhere. Everybody all of a sudden has a stroller, and somebody's pushing it, and it looks like they just have a doll inside of, you know, the stroller. It doesn't even look like a real baby. They're just, like, out there, you know, basically doing that street theater type of deal. And then you have license plates from every single state. And I don't live in a place where you would want to take a vacation to. Like I said, it's, you know, it's a small, like, farming area, but the roads are packed 24/7, and there's license plates from every single state in the country. And it's like, why would people want to come here? And I think it's, like, definitely some kind of research and development type deal, or it's like a government deployment for, you know, this kind of research and development. And that's why we're seeing all these out-of-state license plates, like from New York and Oklahoma and California, every single state you can think of. It feels like they're deployed to this one area just to, like, gang stalk me, you know. And I basically, you know, figured out the psychology behind it, and I just I strictly just, you know, I try to be the better person. I know that they're doing wrong, and I'm still going to be nice to them. I'm not going to change who I am just because of, you know, what they're doing. So you also have, like, gangs of people, like, riding, you know, their motorcycles or their bicycles, you know, down the road, like, right in front of you, and they'll start doing wheelies and stuff like that. I mean, it's just, you know, I was born and raised in this area. I know my town, I know my county, and I know what's normal and what's not normal. And yeah, basically I kind of broke down the whole entire gang stalking. If you guys can, you know, imagine all of that, just be nice to these people, because they're under the assumption that they're going to break you down so you do something mean. But when you get them one-on-one and you're nice to them, and they know that they're doing something wrong, it hits them in a certain psychological way that actually they don't know how to respond. You know, they're like, there's a gang of us out here, of us people out here, stalking him. But you're the good one, and you go up to them, and you can just observe their behavior, just the way that they talk, the way that they can't, you know, you're there and you're trying to help them, and they don't even know how to talk. It's like they totally forgot how to talk to a human being because they know that they're in the wrong. And they're like, oh my gosh, what is this guy or girl going to do to me? Because they know I'm doing something wrong. So you just observe their behavior, and after a while, I mean, you just kind of get it under your belt. Say, hey man, this is the norm for now until we, us as TIs get.
Well, okay, so I agree with you, Kevin, that a lot of times it's hard to control yourself when you're in those situations, but it's always really important to remember, you're right, that you do have to be nice to people, because here's the caution. The caution is, after a bit of time, it's really hard to discern who really is a gang stalker and who is as an incidental that I think is gang stalking me. And you can never make that assumption that you know for sure. So what I do in those situations is I try to change my position. If I feel like I'm in a situation where I'm being threatened or under attack or gang stalked, I find a way to get myself out of that situation as peacefully and as quietly as possible. If that means I have to get to the checkout faster, I do. Or to my car quicker, I will. And always remember that it might just be my perception at that moment, or it's a real situation. So you always have to keep your cool, your calm, be collected, ignore, and go. Because the response is what they're looking for. You're right. And, and then the other risk is, what if, they manipulated that person in my path, if you will, to do a certain something, and they're clueless too. There's always that risk. So I've had every kind of scenario where obviously there's somebody doing something that they have to be paid for of some type, and then there's incidentals too where I wasn't really sure, and so now you just have to be really careful, because we're talking about your life and their life, and keeping your cool, keeping focused, and realizing that they also might be used as a pawn, and you don't have a clue they're being used as a pawn, and they might be also a TI and not know it and feel the same way about you.
Yeah.
So I've had to switch that thinking too, that they themselves could be a TI and feel very threatened by people around them. I often wonder if some of the people that have been, there's kinds of intense gang stalking that's so violent and obvious or whatever. And then there's been peripheral gang stalkers, or whatever you want to call it, where it's more of like an influenced gang stalking situation, like it's a conversation about maybe a situation I was in by strangers that are at the store that all of a sudden form a little group next to me and start talking about events that were going on in my life that week. That's really freaky. But they might be they absolutely might be clueless too. The mathematical probability of that though is rare. That it could possibly be just random, but it is still a possibility. So I just remove myself from the situation very quickly and try to be positive.
I like that way of thinking, but I'm not going to. I can recognize what they're doing, and like I said, if you can understand the psychology of what they're trying to do, there's a little bit of psychology on their half too. The whole thing with them talking about stuff that you did, I went to the dentist, and I had, cleaning and this, that, and the other, and then I went over to my dad's house, and all of a sudden, my stepmom, she's talking about the dentist. I'm like, yep, and I acknowledge it, and I just let it go. Because that's the whole telepathy thing. Your thoughts are basically projected on them, and I mean, at some point in time, you can actually use that to your advantage. I mean, it's kind of like thinking lower than they are, but you can also, I mean, there's so many different ways you can actually play the game back on them and actually get inside of their head, because if you know for a fact that your thoughts, as soon as they say something, like or they start acting in your mannerisms or how you talk or, you know, how you talk to people, you'll see a lot of people, you know, doing the same thing. Like me, I always used to say, hey, you know, before I left, like, hey, you have a good one. You know, and then all of a sudden I have all these people saying, have a good one to me. You know, once you actually know that they have this, you know, whatever is going on inside your head can be projected on them, and they're basically, it's a copycat. They're copying what you say, try to break you down. But once they give you that signal, you know, you know that they can hear your thoughts, and you can also play the game back on them by not even saying anything. All you have to do is think stuff to them, and then you can actually see how they actually respond to you. And usually they just get really quiet. Like, like me, like I went up to somebody, and I was buying something, purchasing something, and you know, there was a couple times they kind of gave away that, yeah, they could hear, you know, my thoughts. So, actually, think about it this way. You're actually inside their head. Even though they know what you're thinking, you actually have, I mean, this is a concept I've been thinking about. You actually have the upper hand on that, because you can think something to them, and they're going to hear you. But you can use it to your advantage. So
yeah, and they can hear you say the Bible verses too, and they hate that. I get a lot of success with that. I repeat the Bible verses, you know, like, no weapon formed against me shall prosper, and greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. I say all those things, you know.
Yeah, Dana, there's a really good another translation of that scripture. It says, no weapon formed against you will have any success. That's another good way to look at it. It won't have any success in the long run. So just remember that.
Yeah, I have to say that a lot. I have to say it while I'm battling. And like I told you, I said, you know, earlier that, you know, when I do fight and battle through prayer, you know, I'll have great lulls where I won't have any issues in the house, or I won't feel anything on my body, and I'll have like a wave of peace for a while, and then they come back, and then I have to battle again, you know.
Yeah.
But it helps.
Yeah. Yep, that's the cycle. It is. It's the cycle, you know, and it's really hard to find patterns some of the time in it all, you know, or the answers to the whys, you know, the how come.
They're basically trying to get you into they'll take you through cycles, correct? But there's also, from what I've been reading, there's actually different phases of the whole gang stalking technique. I can try to pull up the information and get it out to everybody, but there's actually different phases of gang stalking. They start out in the beginning by gathering information, by talking to people that know you, to find out what your insecurities are, and, you know, this, that, and other. So there's so many, and they'll surveil you, and they'll try to figure out every single little thing, and they're going to try to use it to their advantage. And then during the cycles, okay, so there's different phases, and then during the phases, there's different cycles where they're going to try to put you at ease, and then all of a sudden you're at ease, and you get caught off guard, and then bam, it becomes a real hard, gang stalking day or gang stalking week or gang stalking month. They basically put you at ease, and then they bring it harder than the last time. And they'll do this over and over and over again to see what is actually going to break you down. But like I said, if you can actually understand the psychology of it, they can't break you down. I mean, there's no way that they can break you down, especially if you're nice to them. I mean, if you're nice to somebody,
there's no nice being to them. They'll break you down. They've been breaking. I'm sorry to interrupt, but they've been breaking me down for 2 weeks. I went back to work, and somebody else said the same thing like a few days ago or last week. They said, I since I've been trying to go back to work or something like that, they've been really beating me up, and they've been doing the same to me. They beat me up so bad today. I didn't go to work today. They beat me up so bad. They've been they softly punched me in my upper left cheek all day long. Headache all day long.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Scylla. Hi. Welcome to the call.
It's good
to hear you.
I've been screaming all day. It's just sick. It's just sick. And it's amazing, too, because this is the second time that they did the same thing. It's the headache and, the punching me in my left upper cheek. And it's not the most painful thing in the world, but it's not right. And it's sore. Excuse me. Screaming all day. I've been screaming for 2 weeks. I've been attempting to work for the last 3 weeks. And the first 2 days I went to work, it was okay. And then after that, they just started beating the living crap out of me. And I have to find shielding, and I think Home Depot might have something tomorrow that might work out. I just have to see what it's like and buy it and see if it works. It's galvanized steel, and put it on some type of sort of table that I saw online so that I can sleep under it. Some kind of sort of outdoor table or something that you would use outdoors or whatever, something, because
your galvanized steel is a good shield. I would, if you can get more than one panel of it and build a space for yourself, lean them up against the walls or something. That would really help. Yeah.
They're waking me up every hour. I tried to take a nap today. What do? They wake me up in a half hour. Then they wake me up in another hour after that. Then in 3 hours from 6 to, let's see.
They're trying to keep you from working. That's the goal, is to keep you from your job. Yeah. They're trying to keep you home so you don't go to work.
Yeah, they just destroy you. And then somebody else, I'm not surprised, but someone else said the same thing, on one of the calls last week. It might have been Fridays or something. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. They said the same thing, they're trying to work too, and it's just sickening. Yeah. They're all vile. Now I know. I just learned what vile meant today. I kind of knew what it meant, but I really know what it means now. It's no morals. And that's exactly what they are. And they're not going to go to heaven, these people. They're all done. This is their one life. Take your paychecks that you make off of us. Take your money when you throw all our stuff to Thor, the dark web, and make money that way too. You disgusting vials, because there's no place for you in heaven. God said goodbye. You're all done. You want to hurt people? You want to hurt God's children?
There is no question that they're going to get their justice eventually. It may not be ours. Hi,
Sumaya.
John. Hi, how are you?
I'm well. It's good to hear you.
Thanks. You have a very calm, nice call. You always have a nice call on Mondays. I appreciate that.
Oh, good. Good. I'm glad. How are you doing, Sue? How are you feeling today? Did you have a good day?
I'm okay. I mean, it's the same old thing, But I went out and I raked leaves.
Nice. That's good. Did you get that nice brisk air?
Get some air, get grounded,
be in nature a little bit. That always helps.
Sure does.
But yeah, I mean, the targeting hasn't stopped. I think my attitude is different now, though, in the last few years. Yeah. And the thing that I want to emphasize, I mean, I think what's good about what Kevin was saying is it comes down to the balance of power. I think it's summed up like that. If they think you're weak, then they're going to make you weaker so they can feel stronger. If you can feel confident and ride through whatever they're doing to you, okay, it is painful, and they're trying to, force you to behave in ways that are not natural, that are incriminating sometimes, that are just belittling, but when you're able to rise above that in your own mind, then the balance of power can shift. They might still do the same things, but you may not be feeling as victimized because inside your heart and mind, if you're a child of God, you're a good person, what they're doing is wrong. We know that. We don't have to keep saying it. The balance of power has to come up from within you so that, like, you're out in the store, you're on the road, whatever you're doing, you're, solid. And they don't like it when you feel your own confidence. They are a little more intimidated, maybe they're a little more ashamed of what they're doing, but it comes down to balance of power. The other thing I wanted to add was about the zombies. I think a lot of people in society are already being targeted, and their stages of targeting may be different than yours. But I notice that people are walking around in a daze. Maybe it's from chemtrails, maybe it's from frequencies. I was in the store the other day, and I see two people, and both of them, my heart goes out to, they maybe a little older, have a little bit of health issues, but they were loading their carts with a completely imbalanced selection. This one lady, she looked very unhealthy, and all she kept putting in her cart were Pringles, package after package of Pringles, like in a trance, like in a mind control, habitual, I need another one, I need this one, I need, lining up the Pringles. And then this other guy, an older man, also, but what he was putting in was chocolate-covered cookies, packages and packages of cookies, like nothing else, no bread, no eggs. I mean, just really like addictive, habitual, mind-controlled habits. I mean, patterns. If they keep people in those zombie-like states, they can make them do anything, pretty much anything. I won't say everything. But some of the zombie people you're seeing out there are targeted. They're trying to control the race, the entire human race. If they can get people in, just repetitive, then they got them. So have compassion on them. You may not be able to change their targeting, but just recognize that we are not the only ones. We were just the first wave.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting point right there. That I think the development of these neuroweapon systems, you're right. I think that it's happened. Their plan is over time. Their plan is methodical. That it's gonna take time to socially engineer cultures. They're getting a snapshot of all the cultures, all behaviors in all cultures. They're getting cell phones in the hands of the smallest, third world countries, small villages. Everybody has a cell phone. I'm blown away by some of the videos I see. That's it's just incredible how it's how everyone has access to cell phones. So it says a lot, you know.
Yeah. I mean, in some of those
where
villages, they don't even have clean water or sewage, but they're carrying cell phones around.
I know.
Like
it's
no
incredible.
Infrastructure, right? Yeah. The only infrastructure they have is the towers and the satellites.
Yeah, yeah. Which is one way that they
you,
can have control, you know.
Yeah.
So it's and then they get a snapshot of the psychology of those villages and what makes people tick, and it programs what I believe is happening too. There's a section of this that it's teaching the artificial intelligence, which is what I think where this information ultimately ends up. Okay, all the data, if you will, so when I say data, I mean the way our brains work, the way we react to stress, the way we react to success, the way we interact with our fellow human, our family members. I believe it teaches the artificial intelligence how to become more sentient, if you will, to understand humans, because ultimately they want it to control humans. And they're using us to learn how to teach the artificial intelligence programming. There's basically, we are programming the AI on how to understand humans and what motivates us, what discourages us, what punishes us that works, you know, behavior modifications, and you know, then you can start getting into the why. Okay, so they want to socially engineer to slowly thin the herd, if you will, you know, maybe, or to test out products if there's the commercial part of this. You know, who knows? I mean, it's just that therein lies the, we wonder if there's contracts with, you know, various agencies that like to make money off of product placement, if you will. You know, it's like well, this person seems to appreciate this stuff, so let's use this person for product testing. You know, who knows? Who knows how they utilize our minds? But ultimately, it's to siphon off that information, and it goes to whichever place it goes to, wherever that signal is testing from. You know, so and if it's religious testing, it's multiple compartments in religious groups. You know, maybe I often wondered, because I've received so much religious opposition in various forms, if there aren't groups of various religions that kind of, I don't know if it's through hive minds or if it's literal people who've programmed these programs, they set up religious spiritual wars between the minds of various religions. You know, I wonder if they do that, and they kind of keep data and scores on insight or wisdom, or, you know, the way you cope morally because of your religion. You know, so I think there's all kinds. You have to kind of dig deep in the psychology of why they would be committing the greatest atrocities known to humankind right now on us. Why would they be doing this? It's much bigger than the neighbor, you know, who you think has a directed energy weapon on them, you know, but are they really going to trust, you know, a person with the most sophisticated weapon systems ever known to man? You know, a lot of the professionals say no way. These people, they make you feel, they manipulate your brain so that you feel, they amplify the situation so you feel that gang stalking incident is localized to that one person or that group, when sometimes it is. Now don't misunderstand me, but they want you to believe it's that person that has a handheld or something like that, and that you're, in fact, it's so profound you're convinced you know it is. And I've experienced that when I was proven, you know, sometimes I'm like, oh, I was wrong that time, but boy, I saw that one, and that would be impossible for that to have been a wrong conclusion. So sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. So the point is you have to be really careful. But I also believe that this is much bigger than we can ever understand until now.
Yeah.
I think that the information is, remember, they're 20 to 50 years ahead behind the scenes. So they're leaking out right now what's coming gurgling up in society. We hear nothing more than all about artificial intelligence. Transhumanism seems to be hitting the streets now. People are talking about this stuff. They're talking, they know something's up, but they're not sure what it is, and so I believe that people are catching on, but the right questions haven't been asked yet, and that,
Yeah.
we're hoping that those questions will be asked by the right people, because, this is big stuff. This is big cheese, in a sense, and
It makes me wonder. It makes me wonder as more and more people, and I trust that. I know more and more people are finding out. They're more informed. The keywords are popping up, like you said. The idea of the deep state and what's possible and all that is also very, there's a lot of talk about that. But my question is, or what I wonder about is, when it reaches a certain critical mass point, what will the enemy's next move be? Will that mean at that point they're going to accelerate it? Are they going to shut it down? Are they going to go underground more about it? I mean, there is going to be a critical mass point of information where people know. And then what will they do? That's what I'm wondering. What does everybody else think?
Yeah, good question.
My fear is, well, it's not a fear. It's more like I speculate that they will accelerate and take out some of the best informed ones, the scientists, the people who have been working the program, who are the whistleblowers. They'll probably try to eliminate them. But it will probably be in their best strategic mode to go covert again and hide everything and stop the frequencies and stop the chemistry so that people start to forget about it and kind of go back to their own lives. That way they would save face. But they're not likely to back down because they're mind control themselves. They're habitual themselves. So they're probably going to just keep doing what they do without thinking about consequences or consciousness or what will happen in the future to their own children. They'll probably just keep doing what they do.
Well, there's this moral controversy over the power of artificial intelligence too. And what artificial intelligence is truly capable of. And, there's a lot of warnings about it from even Stephen Hawking, So who knows? Who knows what tipping point? Remember, I'm starting to have leanings now to really, because, as time goes on, things get brighter, right? We understand more information and whatnot. And mind control, and there's a reason they're mind controlling. They're trying to socially engineer and see what they tinker with our brains, if you will, and take information out and put information in and see what happens, and behavior modification. Those things are really happening. We know that for sure. We always have to ask ourselves, what do we know for sure? We know they are doing things to our bodies and our minds that are weird, different, odd, horrifying, fear-inspiring, so on and so forth. And there's got to be a purpose for it bigger than just it happening, just that experience. There's bigger things behind it all. And we know for sure that we have seen and experienced neuroweapon systems power. We've experienced what it's like to feel manipulated. by people that we know are also controlled. That is so significant in just that statement. And we all understand it because we've experienced it. We are unlike any other people on the planet. So, you have to keep that in mind, that this is happening to you, and it's horrifying, and I've lived it for so long. And at the same time, other people don't have a clue, and it's real. And this is really happening to us, and it's we're having that experience. And
what do you think, Lily, what do you think is going to happen at that tipping point where more and more people, let's say out of 7 billion people, 4 billion people are under the influence and they know? And what do you think they will do at that point?
Well, the tipping, I have my own spiritual convictions, in a way, if you will, of what the scriptures say. So I kind of, you asking me that question, it's really personal. In generally speaking, I believe now I have leanings to believe that I started really looking at, I think I told you guys this a few weeks ago, that I've really been looking deeply at where the philosophies came from to form the attitude of the people with money, so we'll call them globalists or whatever, who have a crisis of conscience, that feel it's their charge to control and manipulate the way the world is orchestrated and ruled. And they have taken that upon themselves, and they control nations and governments. And, I wanted to understand the philosophies behind those things and what makes them think that. So, of course, they're going to buy the scientists, the most brilliant minds on the planet. They're going to tap them at the universities, and they're going to put them in their labs, and they're going to develop weapon systems. It's like how does a gun become an assault rifle? And how does a different kind of gun become a flamethrower? And how does a gun all of a sudden turn into a rocket? And then how does a rocket become a shoulder rocket? They improve these weapons to destroy, and they keep, I say improve them, meaning they make them worse. They make them bigger, grander, whatever, to destroy fragile human beings. I mean, regardless of your position in your religion or your politics or whatever, we have entire military systems devoted to destroying perceived threats of humanity. And it's like everybody feels threatened, so they build a bigger bomb, and the whole thing is just so asinine if you really think about it. But here's my point. Who's doing the designing? Who's doing the designing of the weapon systems? And who's the philosophers that are trying to achieve, the social engineering and controlling of the minds to fit the narrative of whatever powers that be, right? If the United Nations is saying, hey, we see religion as a threat to human peace, so we want to go in and figure it out with these weapon systems, because remember, the United Nations is made up of all the nations. So if America has their weapon system and China has theirs and Russia has theirs, and they're going over to the United Nations, that's really, and they're members of the United Nations. They're using these weapon systems on their citizens as members of the United Nations. So the United Nations has a goal, and their goal is to create peace on the earth. They claim to rival. It's like they compared themselves to God's kingdom, kingdom come. So they believe that. And they even put scripture out on the front of the United Nations building about they're going to beat their swords into plowshares. They're going to achieve world peace and world domination through their peacekeepers. And so how the tipping point, so behind those nations, though, you've got philosophers, and you've got people who are willing to invent these neural weapon systems, and these are quantum scientists, physicists, of the highest degree, And they're the ones who are running these programs with the aid of the military. So a lot of it is very philosophical, because who designed the nuclear warheads? Physicists, So there was a lot of philosophy, and Oppenheimer, made his famous quote after developing the atom bomb. So, people are really off the rails, brazen, for lack of a better term, to think that they can have the right to say there should only be this many people on the planet, or there should only be, this kind of person on the planet, or we should improve the human race with weapon systems that can supposedly, one theory is transhumanism, which is going to elevate humanity above just this level of thinking that creates the social unrest and that we see, or they're going to create a solution to a hierarchy of need, which is, all the things that Maslow, I get Pavlov and Maslow confused, but, all these things that create situations where humans want to create, so-called, they have the idea of a better, now it's globe. It's not just in their nation. Now they're thinking globally, So globalism without a superpower, yet the superpowers are saying nay, nay. We all want to keep our superpower status, so we're going to fight each other with these neural weapon systems races, and who knows? I mean, we can go on and on and on. So
okay,
what do I think is the tipping point?
Sorry.
The tipping point is going to be when God Himself says is enough. Humans have had their day. Humans are really bad at ruling themselves and governing themselves, and the governments that they've created, and so on and so forth. But that's my personal opinion.
Can I
hopefully, please do. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Always.
I just want to ask
Lily.
Oh, I'm
you
sorry.
gotta always interrupt me. It's good.
I just wanted to know who it was that was just speaking before you, and she asked the question, what do you think is next? Okay, that was you, right?
This is Sumaya. Yeah, this is Sumaya.
Okay,
here.
thank you.
Hi.
What I think is next is I think we're going to have cyber wars, and I think that there's going to be more weather weapons deployed on the earth, and that's my gut feeling. Okay, that's not based on anything I read or because I've asked the same question, but I think they're going to become more aggressive, like in the cyber realm. They're all set up for cyber war right now, so it just makes sense that I think that that's what we're going to have to face, and sooner or later, all of us have to, get prepared to have clean water, food storage, and be prepared, because I don't know, I don't have a sense of when it's going to be. We don't have food or whatever, but right now the stores look good. But I think that's where our mind should be, is just being prepared to have enough food and water, access to clean water, and know that where we're at, our environment is safe. And if we don't feel safe, we should move with our family or with other targeted individuals, whatever, so that we can all help one another, instead of being isolated. That's what I think.
I think, because look at the hurricane season. Right now, you're talking about weather weaponry, right? And using energy. Well, Iota is a Category 5 hurricane. It's 160 miles an hour, and it's hitting the coast of Nicaragua again. And they just had Eta, which was also a very powerful hurricane. It seems like, and I'm going to say with a big if those are weaponized weather systems, then it looks like what they're trying to do is destroy those civilizations so they can scoop up the land real cheap. like just really take over. And what better way to do it than plausible deniability? Oh, weather. Oh, it was the floods. It was the tornado, and then the land is demolished. The homes are demolished. People move away, and then they go out pennies on a dollar, just miles and miles. Even whole countries can be bought up for cheap. That's what it looks like. So I'm not sure, but if it's weaponized weather, then that would make sense to me, because those are not going to be livable places anymore. And I agree with you. We need to find, I don't want to use the word sustainable because it has a lot of different connotations, but a survivable situation where you can take care of yourself and you don't have too many threats aside from being targeted, tangible threats that you can deal with and have your supplies and everything else.
And I will say this too, that my gut instinct is usually right, but I could be wrong. But I do think there are people fighting. I think there's an insurrection in our military, and I think that there is good fighting evil right now. That's what I believe. And that there are not, like, every personnel officer of our armed forces, they're not on the side of globalism, or they're not all wanting to kill all of us. They're not all Satanists, but they are divided, is what I think is what's happening. And they're fighting one another.
That makes sense. Well, I think a lot of the agencies are fighting between themselves because they all want to be, the top dog and the decision makers. And there's so many agencies now, keep making new agencies. This security agency, that security agency, And it's like
the scariest thing I think is the lack of justice and judicial system support for Americans. This is like at an all-time high, like total lawlessness. We have nothing. We have no recourse within the court system here to get in front of a judge and say, hey, we're being attacked. We have nothing, no defense. And you know why that is because of who's in charge of the court system is an unseen court system. It's all hidden. They make all these executive decisions. The UN has several charters that are anti-constitutional, totally in opposition to our Constitution. They're making all these executive decisions. They are now declared by the Vatican. I don't know if anybody read the article that came out that the Pope declared the UN as the governing authority of the world. So we have no protection from our legal system. In our legal system, from being a targeted individual. We have no justice.
Dana, real quick, back up to the part where you said Catholic Church approved the UN as being. When was that? Because that's been known, but when did you hear that again? Recently?
Yeah, that was something I just pulled off the internet about a week or two ago that I saw that looked recent. It looked, and I don't know, I can't remember because I should print this stuff out so I can have it so I can go back to it. But it looked recent, and it was one of the major news, mainstream media news corporations. It might have even been Bloomberg or one of those, But, you can search for it and find it, I'm sure. So he's in essence saying,
if the UN is considered the governing party or the governing, committee to decide things, then what could we do with that? Is there something we can
Nothing.
use?
No, they're not on our side. They are not going to help us, and that's just what I believe. You can disagree with me, and I respect you,
I don't know.
but I do not believe that they are for microchipping. They are for vaccines and forced vaccinations. They are for all the things that are against our constitutional rights. It's totally. If you look at the UN Charter history, if anybody wants to look at this, you can. Look at what how they started. FDR did the first draft. They reworked it, reworded it. It's almost like they went in and gutted things out and added what they wanted to make it look more, friendly to the globalist agenda. But FDR was never a globalist. He was never a Freemason. He was never a devil worshiper. He was a Christian. And so Truman is the one that messed up his first draft, and then he replaced everything once FDR died. So so that's what happened. So if you look at all the charters, they're in direct violation to the U.S. Constitution. And if you read the U.S. Constitution, there's a clause that states any treaty that is in opposition to the U.S. Constitution is null and void, like it's nullified. So that's the way our framers worded the Constitution. So no treaty can supersede the U.S. Constitution, but yet the UN still insists that their charters are the supreme law over the United States of America, which is a lie, okay? But they're doing it anyway.
Okay. Well, we're not the only country that's getting used for these research programs. We're not the only citizens, I should say. So
yeah,
it's
not just for research.
It's got to come out, right?
It's
South Africa,
more
Australia, New Zealand, everywhere in Europe, everywhere in Russia, Asia. Every one of them.
They're using it to kill us. I'm sorry to say the truth, but and that is the truth. They are doing all of this to wear us out, to starve us out of our homes, because Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars has been around since Vietnam. That was one of their testing beta tests was Vietnam. The Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars has been around for decades, and they've been utilizing that throughout the decades and fine-tuning it and using their different technologies, progressing their technologies to incorporate into the silent weapon system. So this has been going on for a long time, and I've been attacked, and I've been a beta subject since I was very young. So
yeah, it hasn't ended yet. It seems to be morphing, the different programs on the different styles of people, and it also seems like they're starting on younger and younger groups, like in their 30s and 40s, even children, like you said.
Because
of the conversation, ladies.
Yeah, I mean, if the UN was truly on our side, they would be putting a stop to all the shutdowns, because they're the governing authority. They would say no more shutdowns. We got to heal the economies of the world. We got to feed the poor. We got to repair all the structures that have been destroyed by weather weapons. No, they are not on our side. They don't care. It's all a lie. If they act like they care, they're liars. They don't care.
It's words, rhetoric.
I think what you see. Okay, so this is why it's called deep state. Is what we see and what we hear is one thing, when what's going on behind the scenes obviously is another thing, and that's what's going on in the back rooms of the member nations of the United Nations. So a lot of this is prophetic, actually, too. But I don't want to get too spiritual. But it definitely ties into the United Nations and The whole transhumanism and the theory of super intelligent, enhanced humans, and collecting. Well, I shouldn't say collecting. I'd say like connecting. So hyper-connecting minds to the cybernetic world of artificial intelligence is theorized to develop super intelligent, conscious humans, all connected through consciousness. I mean, this is the stuff that is driving, these are the philosophies and the theories that run those behind the scenes of those rooms, right? Because think of the power they have over nations to be able to control people, their will, their thinking, their body movements, everything. And that's what these neural weapon systems are going to be developed for. So it's very seductive, and the whole transhumanist movement is the philosophy behind the neural weapon systems. You have the military saying we can use it to control our enemies and protect our borders and keep our power as a nation state, and then you've got the philosophers and the scientists going, oh yay, we can improve humanity. We can depopulate, or we can.
That's just a sales. No, those are just sales lines.
Well, yeah, but it's in motion. So then who's doing it? Because we can control the weather eventually, so that we can produce crops better in these regions. You know what I mean? They're going to be able to. They think they're going to be able to ultimately control everything and everyone using these neural weapon systems. I think, and that's what the United Nations. Behind the scenes, the member nations are the ones controlling the neural weapon systems. So obviously, they're not gonna reveal that to everybody out in the open. That's why it's so covert, and it's called the deep state. So we as the people.
Let me give you another scenario. Did you ever see the movie or read the book by Stephen King called Cell? It's a really it's scary. It's you wouldn't believe how insidious and how realistic it could be. It has to do with all the people are with their cell phones in a airport, and suddenly a frequency comes out, and everybody who's on a call or making a text message suddenly goes nuts, and everybody on their frequency turns into some kind of mind control, violent, eating, killing, cannibalistic, and actually they have used those frequencies, but I don't want to go into it. So the movie shows you the possibility, and then I shouldn't tell you the end, but I will. How the whole bunch of them, thousands and thousands and thousands of people, turn into the giant hive mind following frequencies and transmitting through sound out of their own mouths. And so what they could be used for, it could be like a slave state. I mean, consider that. Transhumanism, what is that? A sales pitch. But what they may want as another alternative is a slave state where they can get everybody buying the product that they decide, which they do already, going to the locations and having certain emotions, which they do already, and possibly getting them to, make their agendas a reality, thinking it's their own choice when it isn't. Can you picture that?
Yeah.
A slave state.
Well, ultimately, that's what it turns into, because this is a debate I got into about these weapon systems. Okay, so let's say that the people behind the scenes have these terrific philosophies, and when I say terrific, I don't mean good, I mean large. These philosophies that they're going to make the world a better place with globalism. On all its levels. That means trade and weapon systems, and they're going to make the world a better place by genetically engineering everything and controlling the weather patterns so they can control all of the global issues of food production. And, eventually these weapon systems are going to control. But here's the debate. Let's say they decide they want to depopulate and they want to institute the rules of what some people would call a new world order, or just the way the nations are going to conduct themselves in the future, whatever they're going to do with their charter, okay, the United Nations Charter. Let's say all of a sudden they decide that they've depopulated, they're controlling the food, and they're controlling the weather, and they're doing all these things. Let's pretend it's a success. Ultimately, it still won't be a success because humans are still going to disagree. And they're going to disagree to the point where they're willing to kill for it. So somebody's going to be disgruntled. Other people are going to be greedy. They're not going to have enough. The people in power are just going to want more. It's going to be off the rails. It's like the Hunger Games, And so really the real issue that they aren't able to fix or cure is the condition of the human. And that is, we as people have to wake up and look at ourselves every day and say, what kind of human am I going to be today? And, am I going to be a contributing human, or am I going to be, a taking human? And that's the part that they're never going to fix. So regardless of the philosophies as to why they're doing this down the road, or what the tipping point is going to be, I really don't see how they're ever going to be successful on their own in conducting and navigating and engineering a better humanity, even if they solved the conflicts that they think they can solve with these weapon systems. Because they're always going to have people who are not going to get along. They're going to want more. They're going to want richer, bigger, better. There's always going to be suffering. So they're never going to be able to eliminate the suffering that they're causing the suffering to try to eliminate. You see what I mean? They're still making all the suffering happen so that there's something better, and it's not going to be better. They're not going to succeed. And that's why I put, then we start getting into spiritual stuff, so I don't really want to go there. So really, the question is then, what does it take to make a human cooperative, open to agreement, open to being wrong some of the time, not being greedy, willing to share, loving? I don't know. I mean, that's what we're looking at. And it's really hard to say those things when I've been a victim of this stuff for as long as I have, but that's the conclusion, because no matter what they think they're going to achieve, you can't regulate by law or even by neural weapon systems the heart of a human. And how the real question is, how do you make societies get along? How does that happen? How do you reach a point where humanity can get along with one another and behave and love and all the ways we want it to, without people always being an antagonist or a jerk or whatever? Listen, I've been in meetings, professional meetings, where people are just the biggest jerks, and they want it their way, and they're willing, lawyers do this. This is a systemic problem. Lawyers are the worst at it. They will break the law to make a law, or they'll be morally flexible just to win a case. We've seen it even in the most powerful people who are attorneys. So it's like I really believe ultimately that humanity is having, instead of an economic crisis or any other kind of crisis, it's a morality crisis. Humans are having a crisis of morals, and it's off the rails, And then we've got the biggest perverse people in power. They are the ones in power. Do you ever notice that? When I listened to Kathy O'Brien's story, oh my gosh, she's revealed things that are horrifying. Absolutely, by the people that were voted into power, of what they did to her, personally did to her. And if they're willing to do those things to her as a fragile female human being, they're in power in the most powerful country in the world. And so it just, it's not that I'm trying to be discouraging. It's that I'm hoping for something better in a different way, and that's what I pray for. Because humanity is reaching a climactic situation in all spheres. It seems like, and people are making decisions, and people are doing things for the past 50 years that are so outrageous that it calls for God's justice. So the call's gone out for God's justice. That's just how I feel. Sorry for people who are atheists, but that's how I feel. Well, I'm not really sorry, but you know what I mean. Like, sorry if you don't want to hear it, but that's how I feel. It's calling for God's justice with this, and it's kind of like I kind of reached that conclusion after all these years and years and years of torture. I just don't see, no matter what they're trying to achieve with it, it's not gonna succeed, because ultimately everybody's gonna have the hierarchy of need, and then they can't control their own human condition. And you're gonna have marital breakdowns and family breakdowns. You're gonna have stealing and thieving and backbiting and backstabbing and greed and all those things. Until those things are controlled, the neuroweapon systems aren't the answer for those things. So I don't know what it's going to take for humankind to honor, all the things that do matter. I don't know what it'll take for people to be conscious of their spiritual need. All I can do is try my best to do my best every day and suffer. I have suffered, and we've all suffered. You have suffered untold horrors that no human should have to experience.
Sorry. One thing I wonder is how far they're going to go. Sorry. One thing I want to know is how far they're going to go with the contact tracing. I watched this preview of a movie, and I didn't watch it. It's like called Bluebird or something. I forget, or I can't remember the name. I got to look it up. It's with Demi Moore. And it's about how they come to the front door and start pounding, and they want to know if you've been vaccinated, and they're like doing a movie, kind of projecting the future. And that disturbs me, to come here and start knocking on my door and wanting me to open the door to them, for them to check me to see if I have COVID, Yeah. I hope that doesn't happen.
Well, I hope not too. We just don't know what level it's going to get to. We just don't know. And the world is in a really...
they're creating, all those powers that be are creating a global economic holocaust. And then they're talking about taking guns away, and I don't know if that will ever happen, because I think our country is armed. All our citizens believe in gun rights. They'll probably kill anybody that tries to take their guns away. That's what I think will happen with that. But, they want to disarm everybody. They want to starve us out of our homes. They're Nazis, okay? I don't care what anyone says. I'm going to say it like it is. They're Nazis. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about that. This is an extension of Nazi terrorism, absolutely. Yep. It certainly is. It's the same thinking that their philosophy will super engineer a better race of people, right? And look how that ended for the Nazis. It's just so... Have humans learned? I don't know.
I think you need to separate the word philosophy from the word strategy, because philosophy is, you're implying that they're actually thinking, feeling human beings. A philosophy is a delicate construct of ideas. A strategy, a wartime control strategy is, control and destroy, or divide and conquer, that's not a philosophy. That's a greed and power hunger. That has they don't have to think at all to do that.
Yeah, well, I also think there's pockets to it too, Sue. You know, it's theoretical. Well, so we'll call it theory. And you know what it is? It's ruling power theory. What are the theories that the rulers are using to try to achieve and to what end? And that's what I guess I'm trying to say. Some of them rely on religions. You know, they want the religious blessing. Like you said, the Pope, okay, you know, Dana just mentioned, the Pope supports the United Nations. Okay? Mm-hmm. So what are the theories then that the governments or the people in power are using to introduce their cure? What is their strategy, right?
It's a plan and a strategy. It's not a theory and it's not a philosophy. There are step-by-step, methodical armies on the ground and armies in the air, and they're going for it. There's no feeling or thinking involved.
I agree.
You've got to buck up, and this is a war. That's what.
That's right.
Everybody. That's how I feel right now.
Yeah.
Me too.
And I don't disagree with that. I think it's a war of morality, humanity, neuroweapon system, spirituality, economic, and the purpose the purpose of people. What's the purpose of all of this? You know, and you know, I could go on with you, but I'd rather listen to you guys because you guys are doing such a good job. Keep going.
It's a good conversation. It really is.
It is. I love it.